Assalamu alaikum students, hope all of you are fine. Today I have come forward with a new class. The chapter that I am going to discuss is synthetic materials. Students, synthetic materials are those materials that are made by combining different chemicals in the factories. And as you all know, in our everyday use, we have come across many different kinds of materials, and most of the materials that we are most commonly using in our homes are mostly made of these synthetic materials. Let me give you one example, that is plastic. This plastic is an example of synthetic material. It's one of the most commonly used material in our houses. Most of the materials that we have in our houses is made of plastic, so is a synthetic material. These synthetic materials can also be called as artificial materials, or we can also call man-made materials. And the things that are used for preparing such materials, okay, it comes from the side of nature. That means some of the natural resources are also mixed to prepare these synthetic materials. Let us discuss about this plastic. As it is a synthetic material, it is a material that can be easily molded into different shapes. We know the plastic chairs, plastic utensils that we have, mugs, spoons, tables, and many more plastic items. All these items are molded to permanent shapes. So any material that can be easily molded into a permanent shape is called a plastic material. Natural plastic materials are clay and rubber. This clay and rubber, these are called as natural plastic materials. Out of these, people used to make different materials. What is good about plastic? A plastic is very useful to us at our present life. How is it very useful? And what are the good things that we have in plastic? The first thing that I am going to tell you is that plastics are cheap. That means we don't have to spend much money to buy any plastic materials. They are very cheap, or cheaper we can say. They are more durable. That means they last for a long time. Any material which is made of plastic, they last for a long time. That means they are durable, and they are light, but they are very strong enough. If we say how much strong a wooden chair is than a plastic chair, then we see that a plastic chair is lighter than the wooden chair. Wooden chairs are very heavier as compared to the plastic chairs. We can easily handle, or we can shift it from one place to other place because of the light weight of the plastic chairs. So plastics are always light, but they are always strong. They can be made into any shapes. We know any material that can be easily molded into a permanent shape is called a plastic material. So any material which is made of plastics, after it is broken, it can be molded again, and it can be given a new shape after molding. So they can be molded into any shapes, and they can also be recycled. We know that these kabaddi wallas, they used to move from home to home or house to house to collect the broken parts of plastic materials. Why they used to collect these broken parts of plastic materials? Since they want it to be molded in it again and give different shapes to produce new plastic materials again with the broken parts, with the unused ones. So many of the plastic materials can be recycled again. So these are some of the good things that we have about plastics. Along with the good sides of plastic materials, there are some bad sides also. That means the disadvantages. If you go on using these plastic materials, there is some disadvantages. Let us learn one by one what are the disadvantages related to the use of plastic materials. Plastics are non-biodegradable substances. That means they do not decompose, or they don't get broken down by simpler processes. by any decomposers. Because if you have a water bottle and throw the water bottle on the soil, after 1 year also you may find the same bottle on the place where you have thrown, and it will be as it is as you have thrown earlier. There won't be any changes in the water bottle. You won't find any broken parts, or you won't find any decomposition of that plastic bottle. But if you compare with any other natural resources, suppose you have taken a banana today. After taking the banana, you have thrown the peel of banana on the ground. The next morning when you will go, you will find that the banana peel has got dried, or it has changed its shape. So likewise, slowly and slowly, what will happen is that it will get decomposed and you won't find that peel of banana anymore. But in case of plastic materials, okay, they don't get decomposed at all, because they can't be broken down by microorganisms. So plastics are non-biodegradable substances. It will remain on the soil as it is, and it will pile up and pollute the environment. The second one, plastic bags and bottles and disposal cups and plates create the greatest problem. As we have learned that these plastic materials, they pile up together and they pollute the environment. As a result, what happens is that the plastic carry bags, plastic bottles, likewise many plastic materials, what happens is that they used to pile up in such a way and leads to blockage of drains, sewers, and many more places. It piles up the garbage dump in such a way that it harms the environment, leading to the blockage of drains and many more. But in our locality, if you go and see, we find that these plastic materials are sometimes eaten by the animals, like cattle and all, like cows and all. What they used to do is that at the time of finding their food, they used to swallow those plastic materials, and their health gets harmed. So this is one of the disadvantage of the use of plastic materials. And if you go for burning these plastic materials again, what will happen is that it will pollute the atmosphere. As burning of plastic materials, it produces some poisonous gases, okay, which pollutes the air, and also the health of workers in plastic factories also suffers. Those workers who used to do work in plastic factories, at the time of preparing the plastic materials, what happens is that they need to prepare it by mixing out different chemicals, and sometimes the gases which are produced, it leads to harm the health of such workers. So these are some of the disadvantages of the use of plastics. Synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers are also synthetic materials. For example, nylon, polyester, terylene, all these are considered as fibers which are called synthetic. There are natural fibers also. Other than natural fibers, we get these synthetic fibers which are formed out of mixing different chemicals. Nylon, acrylic, and polyester. These are some of the examples of synthetic fibers. Students, you all have come across this nylon. There are many things which are made of nylon. Even the clothes are also made of nylon. Let me give you one very common example. You might have seen the roofs, most of the roofs which are made of nylon. If you compare a nylon roof with a roof which is made of natural substances like jute and all, which one would be more stronger? Of course, the nylon roof. Likewise, if you compare the synthetic fibers with the natural fibers, synthetic fibers are more stronger as compared to the natural fibers. And these fibers are obtained by mixing up different chemicals along with the natural resources like coal, petroleum, natural gas, and so on. How this synthetic yarn is formed? We know that the synthetic material which has to be formed into a yarn, is dissolved or melted to form a pasty liquid. This pasty liquid is then forced out through small holes, which is known as spinners, and then it has been cooled and drawn out into formed yarns. Uses of synthetic fibers. If you go for talking about the uses of synthetic fibers, then there are many uses. For example, socks. The socks that you are wearing, it may be made of synthetic fibers. Sweaters, blankets, carpets, mosquito nets, artificial silk, lace, etc. and many more things we find which are made out of synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers are good or bad? Let us see one by one. Synthetic fibers are cheaper than natural fibers. So we can say that synthetic fibers are good because they are very much cheap as compared to the natural fibers. If you go for purchasing a cotton cloth, cotton shirt, it would cost more money other than the shirt which is made of synthetic fiber. So synthetic fibers are cheaper than natural fibers. Synthetic fibers do not fade. That means they do not get spoiled very easily. It is easier to wash and dry clothes that is made of synthetic fibers. At the time of washing the clothes also, you find very comfortable, very easier, and at the time of drying also you find very easy. Clothes made of synthetic fibers retain their folds and plaits, so they do not have to be ironed. It is very much clear to us. If you have a raincoat, after washing, you don't have to press it to retain its folds or pleats. So the clothes which are made of synthetic fibers retain their folds and pleats without ironing. Moths and other insects do not attack on synthetic fibers. No chemical reaction or no reaction of air and moisture takes place on the clothes or the materials which are made of synthetic fibers. If you have such fibers, then it will be very good for our use. But along with the good use of synthetic fibers, there are some bad sides also. The bad sides of synthetic fibers are they burn very easily because they start burning without getting melt. Synthetic fibers do not absorb moisture. This is the reason that when we wear clothes made of synthetic fibers, we keep on sweating and sweating. We feel more hotter and hotter, and the sweat does not get evaporate. So it is because of the clothes that is made of synthetic fibers. Because clothes made of synthetic fibers do not absorb air or moisture. This is one of the disadvantage or bad side of the clothes which are made of synthetic fibers. Clothes made of synthetic fibers shine in an ugly way. That means the shine that is produced by the clothes made of synthetic fibers is very ugly, very bad. It doesn't look good at all. They cling to the skin and can cause irritation to the skin. The clothes which are made of synthetic fibers, it used to produce some electrical charges which leads to irritation to the skin when we wear clothes made of synthetic fibers. Now at last we have got some other synthetic materials. Among the many other useful synthetic materials, synthetic rubber and synthetic adhesives are very much useful to us at present because we use these synthetic rubbers for preparing many different materials like shoes, slippers, and not only this, many other things. Because synthetic rubbers are more stronger and more cheaper as compared to the rubbers that are obtained naturally, and it is very easier to get it again. Adhesives, if we talk about, these are things that are used for sticking broken parts of materials. Earlier, glues made from the bones of animals and gums made from the juice of certain plants were the only adhesives we had. But nowadays, we have got synthetic adhesives for all sorts of things, for sticking paper to mending leaks in pipes, and likewise many more purposes. synthetic adhesives are more stronger than natural adhesives. Students, hope that you all have understood. If you have any queries related to this chapter, you can call me every night in between 8 to 10. With this, my class gets over. Thank you.